Hi everybody. It's Genevieve, Community Outreach Director for Garden City Harvest here at the beautiful Orchard Gardens with my daughter. Who are you?
Austin.
Say it again.
Austin.
Austin. Helper Austin, who's learning with me about greens today. So today we really want to dig into just some ID, because we know there's, in the beginning of the season, there's lots of greens to eat, which is fantastic because they're great vitamin vehicles for vitamins, and we've been sort of deprived of these over the winter. We haven't had fresh veggies in forever that are right out of the ground. So you know, your doctor always tells you to eat leafy greens. There's a reason. There's lots of vitamins and minerals in these leafy greens. So but we need to know what they are, because there's a bunch of them in your CSA. So I have a bunch laid out. They're all sort of getting wilty in the sun, so I apologize for that. But we're going to share a few that are a little off the beaten path from the typical lettuce. Like I'm sure some of you have romaine and spinach, kale, chard. I think you guys probably know what those are. If you don't, feel free to ask your farmer or comment on this video and ask. Take a picture, send it in, put it on the Facebook group, and you will get an answer lickety-split. That's one of the magic things about having a private Facebook group like this for our members. Okay, so we're going to start over here with Bok Choy. Austin, do you want to pick up this Bok Choy? This has actually lasted us all week. This is from our Thursday CSA share. It's Wednesday today. Bok Choy is really easy to identify. Okay, Austin's going to bring it over to you to see. It comes in a head generally, and it has these characteristic, there it is, nice and close. It has these characteristic white stems, which are great. The stem is actually the best part of this vegetable. It cooks well in like stir fry. It's considered an Asian green. It goes really well with things like fish sauce and tamari and ginger. You know, your basic stir fry sauces are great with this guy, and it holds up to any kind of sort of heavier sauce. It's great with meats. It's also great with tofu. So stick this in with your favorite protein, stir fry it up, fantastic. Or even, and the leaves get very silky and nice when they're cooked as well. You just want to strip off the leaves first, cut up the stem, and cook that a little bit longer than you would the leaves. Okay, so that's Bok Choy. It's also called Pak Choy, Pacchoi. They're pretty much the same thing, but your farmer might grow one variety or another, and they cook the same way. Okay, here comes some nice limp. Don't put your greens in the sun. This is a good lesson. Mustard greens, which people are often kind of afraid of. They are very spicy, sort of a wasabi quick spice. It's in your mouth and then it's gone. It's not like, Austin's going to show you again. It's not a hot spice that's going to stick with you as you digest it, like the oils that are in the seeds and the inner stem of a pepper. But this is more of a wasabi spice. When you cook them, because you can eat them raw and put them in salads, or put them in your sandwiches. Today I had a wrap, and I used this as my outer wrap to my sandwich, and it was nice and spicy, almost like putting a little mustard on your sandwich. You can see how flimsy it is. P.S. If you cut off a little bit of the stem and you put this in water, it will just freshen it right up, and it'll be nice and crisp again. So that's what I will do when I go home with this. But if you cook the mustards, they will, the spice pretty much goes away. So they're much more mild if you cook them. And again, you can stir fry these guys and braise them, saute them. All those things are awesome. Okay, another one that I actually haven't cooked with recently is because I didn't get it at my CSA share. Each farm gets a little bit of a different variety depending on what the farmer has planted that year or what's available at that farm, because each farm has its own microclimate. So Some farms will have stuff a little bit earlier or later than others because of where they are within Missoula. But this is Mizuna. It's a mild mustard green, so it doesn't have that kick to it. It looks so dead in the picture right now. But it's a nice mild green. You can saute with it. You can mix it in with salads. Some of the farms will make it part of a lettuce mix, so it'll be much smaller, and in there with the other salad greens. So that's Mizuna. Oh, whoa, whoa! We almost fell over, but luckily Austin caught it. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna flip my page of notes. This Austin will show you. I'm gonna keep two of these. We're about to show you arugula. Not every farmer grows arugula. It bolts very quickly, so it has a very short season in Montana. But Austin will show you there's sort of two forms of arugula. One, it has sort of this teardrop shape, and the other is more of what you often see in mixes and stuff at the grocery store with the more lobed leaves. So Austin's holding up a younger version of arugula, but they both are quite spicy. They get spicier as they get older. Very peppery, very delicious if you mix it in a salad mix. I also found this weekend I actually substituted it for instead of cilantro and parsley in a chimichurri that went on top of some steak, and it was delicious. So I highly recommend it. It does have that nice peppery, spicy taste that goes well. You can also sub it in pesto if you wanted to make a batch of pesto if you just have a lot of arugula. So those are some tips with that. Arugula is also one of those things you got to use right away, because as you can see, like I've just had it. I mean, it's not happy off of its very long in the fridge. So all of these greens, it's great to store them in plastic bags in your crisper drawer to keep the moisture really contained and keep them nice and crisp and crunchy. Okay, so another one that I think Farmer Claire is known for that you get at your Orchard Garden Share. Do you want to, is curly endive. And it is delicious in salads. And you'll also see this as part of a mix. Often chefs really like this. Frisee is very similar to this. And you can substitute this for anything that calls for frisee. Let's see. So as you can see, it has large curly leaves. They're kind of beautiful and lacy, I think. And a narrow stem. It's slightly bitter when you eat it raw. It's from the chicory family, and all of the chicories are pretty bitter type animals. Its leaves are really crisp and delicious. You can eat it raw again or cooked. And cooking definitely, like with the mustards, it will mellow the flavor. So if you don't like that bitter flavor, throw it in a saute pan for a little bit. Austin, should we try a little bit and see what it tastes like?
Okay.
Here. Thanks. What do you think? I don't think it tastes bitter, actually, but I think Austin does. What do you think?
It totally tastes
Here.
bitter.
You want to see?
It totally tastes bitter.
Okay, so two different opinions here. A little bitter, according to Austin. So if it was Austin, she'd probably do it in a mix. If it were me, I might eat that on its own in a salad bowl. But it is kind of fun to put some of these greens in a mix to get a bunch of different flavors along with your salad dressing, and have a little fun that way. Okay, escarole is next. And escarole is a little confusing because it looks like a head of lettuce when you get it. I just pulled this out of the ground, so it's still got a chunk of dirt on the bottom of it. But it won't when you get it in your CSA, of course. Escarole is best cooked, so that's one of the reasons why you don't want to confuse it with a head of lettuce, because you get a surprise when you ate it and it maybe didn't taste so great. It does wonderfully braised, cooking it for a long time. And you can also throw it in soups. So Farmer Claire really likes this one. You want to show it to them because I'm about to move on. So show them the head part, the other, yeah, there we go. See, it looks a lot like a curly leaf lettuce, but it's a little bit thicker and sturdier than a lettuce, so that's a good way to tell. Nice and green. We have Lizzie walking by in the background with her hand sanitizer. Okay, so next up, turnip greens, which I actually don't have a sample of, but they're very similar. You can hand me the beet greens. Turnip greens are green, and they often come with the turnips attached. And I highly recommend clipping those and separating them as soon as you get them home, because it keeps the greens from wilting, because the greens will continue to try to support that root for as long as they can. So if you cut them and put them in a bag separately, that'll keep them from wilting. Turnip greens are another one that, just like escarole, you want to let them braise a little bit. They're known for being part of a southern cooking. You kind of cook them for a long time, often with like a ham bone, like you would collards or something like that. There's plenty of recipes online if you look. I saw one on Spruce Eats that looked delicious. So yeah, turnip greens. They're also a little bit prickly. Let's see, great in soup as well. And they're a little peppery when you taste them. Okay, so the last of our samples is beet greens. I'm going to take the holy one so you can see. Beet greens are really easy to identify because they have that characteristic beet color, which most of the beets are purple. We have some beets that are not, but the beet greens, I think, always have that nice purpley stem in there. And so these are delicious, both raw and cooked. You can saute them. They cook, you cook them a little bit longer than spinach, but you can definitely substitute in recipes for spinach. And let's see, I'm checking my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. The taste is mild. Add to salad mix, sub for spinach, can be braised and sauteed and all of those lovely things. Again, with these guys, if they're attached to the beet, which eventually we will get those beets when we get out of the green season, separate them as soon as you can and keep them separate in separate bags. Or maybe you put them in the same bag, but you don't keep them attached. Same with carrots as well. So, Austin, do you want to go and see if there's any questions over there, if there's anybody who's written in? I will also say we are going to try and do these weekly, probably on Wednesdays. I think I set on the calendar that they'll be done on Tuesdays, but we're going to do them every Wednesday. And feel free to bring questions. Feel free to, if you have ideas for what you'd like to learn on these things, if you want to hear from a certain farmer or a certain subject, if you just have a burning question that we haven't answered, we would love to hear from you and hear what you're curious about. Or if you hear a CSA member talking about something at CSA that we haven't explained, hey, we'd love to hear. What do you think? Do you want to taste any of these other ones? How about the arugula?
Okay.
Let's do a taste test of the arugula since it's...
Good.
We actually grew this.
Spicy.
It's so spicy. We love it. I love arugula so much. Okay, you guys. Stay tuned in next week. We'll see ya. I'm going to check and make sure there's no questions and then say goodbye if there aren't. It just looks like there's some folks watching. So, yeah. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.